There have been all sorts of leaks and hearsay and rumours and attention hunters out there lately posting all kinds of Starfield information. Today I wanted to go through everything we actually know about Starfield. No BS, no my uncle works at Bethesda Game Studio, so trust me bro, just the hard facts. Let's go.
That's why we're here.
Main engines go. Ignition.
To discover what's out there.
Good luck, Constellation.
Starfield is Bethesda's first original RPG in 25 years. It's set in the grounded and realistic space setting taking place in the year 2330. Starfield will take place in the region of space known as the Settled Systems, an area of the Milky Way galaxy that spans about 50 light years around our solar system. The player will find themselves as one of the newest members of a group known as the Constellation, which is the last generation of space explorers. This will task you with exploring the Starfield. What locations you'll be exploring is still unknown, which is the best part of exploration games in general, and also of Bethesda Studios games. However, the short location insights videos give us a little bit of insight as to some of the potential locations in the game, and namely 3 major cities. Neon was originally built as a fishing platform on an aquatic world, but was retooled as a pleasure city by its owner, the Xenofresh Corporation, when they discovered an alien fish with valuable psychotropic qualities, and this drug is now only legal on Neon, making it a hotspot for travelers. Aquila City, the capital of the Freestar Collective. The city's people believe in the sanctity of personal freedom and individuality. However, the city is walled to keep out the Ashtar, an alien predator that is a cross between the wolves and the velociraptor. New Atlantis, a large spaceport city, is the capital of the United Colonies. Not much is said about the city specifically, other than it is the home to every race, creed, and ethnicity the Starfield has to offer.
You're part of Constellation now. Part of our family.
Factions have been a staple of Bethesda Game Studios games since before I could walk. Literally, the Elder Scrolls Arena launched the year I was born and had 7 factions. At this time, we know of 5, potentially 6 factions in Starfield. The first being the United Colonies, which represents the future space republic idealized. They are the most powerful and established military and political faction in the game, and as mentioned previously, they make the New Atlantis their home. The Freestar Collective, which is described as the space western fantasy, these are a loose confederation of 3 distinct star systems. In the year 2310, so 20 years before the game is set, these 2 factions, being the largest factions in the Settled Systems, were at war in a war now known as the Bloody Colony War, and there is now an uneasy peace between these 2 factions. I'm almost certain that the aftermath of that war is going to play a part in the game. The next 3 factions we don't know too much about, other than really their names and like a tiny little bit of information. The Ryujin Industries is one of them, and they are a mega corporation. The Crimson Flight are a group of space pirates that the player can either join or betray. House Varun is a group of fanatical religious zealots, and the last group, which doesn't technically count as a faction, although I thought it is worth calling out here, is the actual group Constellation. Constellation is the group the player will become a part of at the start of the game as one of their newest members. Whether Constellation acts as a faction the player can support or betray, we don't know yet, but I felt it's worth calling out in this faction section as they are going to be one of the major players in the Starfield game, as their logo takes center stage in practically all of the marketing that we have seen. It's all over the player's ship and their armor, and the player is one of the newest members of Constellation, so their influence in the Starfield is definitely going to be important. Which faction are you most interested in? Let me know in the comments down below. As you would expect, you will be able to join some or all of these factions. It is called out in the Into the Starfield episode 2 by lead quest designer Will Shen that he thinks the Ryujin Industries has the best starts of any of the factions, as you basically apply for a job and get hired, and then the quests start off from there. So we definitely know you will be able to join some of these factions. We don't know about all of them, but it's assumed that there is at least 2 that we can join based on his conversation here.
Hello, Captain. How may I be of assistance?
I was walking when Bethesda Game Studios first added companions, which I believe was Morrowind, but do let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Since then, they have also become a staple of Bethesda Game Studios titles and will return with Starfield. We only currently are aware of Vasco, and Vasco is a Constellation exponentiary robot. Vasco was originally built by Lunar Robotics and has since been refurbished to meet the requirements of Constellation's mission. Vasco is primarily a support robot. In other words, sworn to carry your burdens, one might say. However, he does have defensive capabilities. Companions seem to be expanded on in Starfield with a focus on how companions feel about you and what you are doing in the world to give them a bit more of a lively act rather than them just following you and essentially being cannon fodder as they may or may not have been in the past. But also, how cute is Vasco's little wave in the teaser trailer? I absolutely love that.
The exploration of space is one of the great adventures of all time.
The gameplay of Starfield is relatively unknown at the moment, and this is where all the uncles have been linking their information, and there is some information that we do know or we can ascertain from the Into the Starfield discussions. Todd Howard mentions in the first Into the Starfield that the game will be first person and be able to touch everything like you can in previous Bethesda Game Studios titles. So whether that indicates that the game will be first person but you'll be able to zoom out into third person like you could in practically all Bethesda Game Studios games, we don't know, but it is mentioned that there is first person. In the teaser trailer and concept art, we can see guns everywhere, so we can also imagine that we will have some form of first person shooter elements, potentially similar to Fallout 4, but being that this is a Bethesda game and it's what they're putting onto the Creation Engine 2.0, the advancements in their gameplay, their animations and all of that, we don't rightly know at the moment. We'll have to wait and see. I would be expecting at the Xbox and Bethesda E3 showcase, or I guess E3 doesn't exist anymore, but the June showcase on June 12th, that we will see gameplay of Starfield and what Starfield really is, as Bethesda are known to do those big blowouts at the E3 showcases where you get 20 to 30 minutes of just rock hard that sounds weird, rock hard information. We'll run with it. Rock hard information on what their game actually is. Even though it has been 25 years since we've seen an original RPG from BGS, the RPG systems in their games have really changed a lot with varying degrees of depth, from the more action style with Fallout 4 to a really deep RPG in something like a Morrowind or an Oblivion. Concretely, we know there is a persuasion minigame coming that was mentioned in the Into the Starfield, where they're saying it's similar to the Oblivion persuasion system in some ways, but with a much more realistic take on how a conversation would essentially occur and how you would be able to persuade that person and the risks involved in actually trying to persuade that person, whereas Oblivion just felt like a little UI minigame where you just click the option that had the most success. What we can gather from their conversations in these videos is choice and consequence will be important with the different factions that you can join, ways to betray them, or even nuances in between that. And typically with the Bethesda titles and the factions, it's really you can join them or choose not to join them, but it seems like there's more depth to that. For example, it was discussed in the Into the Starfield episode 2 that the space pirate faction, the Crimson Fleet, if you're a good character, you can still join them, but you can report their dealings back to your superiors, kind of like a double agent. So it doesn't necessarily lock you out of that, but you can still roleplay as a good character while being a double agent, reporting back to all of their evil doings to your superiors. There is also reportedly 150,000 lines of dialogue as reported by Nibble on Twitter, and for comparative purposes, there is 60,000 in Skyrim and 111,000 lines of dialogue in Fallout 4. So there is absolutely a lot of dialogue in this game, and whether that is just different ways of describing how you took an arrow to the knee or sworn to carry your burdens, we won't know until Starfield actually releases. But for other RPG elements, Todd describes that they are adding things that they haven't done in a long time: backgrounds, traits, defining your character, and all those stats. All those stats. I love me some stats. Give me a spreadsheet of stats and tangible things that they do in the game, and I am all in. What these stats actually mean, or if there is going to be stats and backgrounds and traits, we don't actually know yet. It's just mentioned that they are returning to some of those roots that they have done in the past. We can probably expect that it'll draw from some of the deeper systems they have done in the past, think things like Oblivion and Morrowind and Fallout 3, rather than the more actiony RPG or freedom of choice that you get in a Fallout 4 or a Skyrim. The release date for Starfield is still scheduled for the 11th of November 2022. Hopefully at the Bethesda showcase they don't tell us it's been delayed, because I'm very excited for Starfield. I can't wait to see what Bethesda have dreamed up with this game. Let me know in the comments down below if you are excited for Starfield and what you're actually excited about. Thank you for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.